There was a significant day that happened to me while I was at college, as we used to call it in the egalitarian early 70s, and that was in the second term. I think I was there. It was the student body occupied the Sidgwick site. And this was partly because we'd all missed out on the revolutionary fervour of the late 60s, and so we wanted to catch up. We'd not done the Garden House riots or anything like that, but so they just, for a weekend, that they took over the lectures, the Lady Margaret Hall, and just sort of had a sit-in. God. 70s, eh? Just a sit-in. And I was in a play already. It was at Christ's Theatre, which is a little concrete block that some of you may know, a sort of shoebox. And the people I was in the play with said, let's take it along to the Sidgwick side tonight on the Saturday night, and we'll do it there. So we did. And I remember sitting in the wings, as it were, just waiting, because there is a sort of stage there, thinking, I'm not sure we can do this, because the place was packed. They were literally hanging from the rafters. No lecture at the Lady Margaret Hall had ever attracted this sort of following. It was packed. And I was playing the lead part in what was essentially a hippie play, directed by a hippie. I think of him as being much older than me. He was in his third year. I was in my first year. I mean, I'm thinking, and now he'd probably be the same age as me, because that's the way that life goes. And he had granny specs and habitually wore a fur coat and had long blonde hair. And that's all I can remember about him, except that this particular play was a typical choice, because it was about the counter-culture, and it was by Heathcote Williams, who's sort of come into prominence a bit more these days. But he was a sort of anarchist writer, and it was called AC/DC, and I was playing the lead part. And we had been playing to 10 people or less every evening, and now here we were in front of 600 or 700. And I went on stage, and I'd been preceded by somebody making quite a sort of pretentious, sort of hippie monologue about, I think it was about third eyes. And I walked on stage and said something on the lines of, what a lot of silly nonsense, or sort of rather more expressively put than that. And the place erupted. And from then on, we just surfed in on a wave of extraordinary, fervent support from the majority of the student body. It was just terrific. It was a night of utter triumph, and it sort of it launched me, it catapulted me from someone who thought he might do a little bit of sort of amateur acting into somebody who believed this was it. This is what I'd come to Cambridge for. And I spent every term then doing 2 or sometimes 3 plays, directing and appearing in them and so forth. And I can genuinely say, as a result of that, I was asked to audition for Footlights, and I sort of went on into the BBC and became a television comic and then a presenter, and now live in this glorious large barn, which you can see behind me.